There's no one who's been more vocal of an advocate of civil rights than me, gang. Hell, I got arrested 7 times back in the 60s. The civil rights and affirmative action mean giving jobs to unqualified candidates at the expense of more qualified ones, include me out. Tonight we're going to look at affirmative action gone absolutely berserk at taxpayers' expense, as usual, at a major college, and the return of Al Jolson. Come on. Let me just for a minute for our audience at home and here, give you a little rundown, all right, on what we're going to be talking about tonight. This is but a microcosm of some of the crap that's going on in this country, all right? And both blacks and whites who are qualified, who are knowledgeable, who understand what's happening, are getting pretty fed up with it. We're going to talk tonight about, let's take an athletic event, because that'll be our example tonight. We're going to talk about a coach who has been a coach for 4 years, all right, part-time for 4 years at a major college in the United States. The program that he put together was so successful, incidentally, he's a white man, so successful that they made it a full-time program. Now, there was a 5-person search committee formed to find a permanent coach. Now, here's the guy who got national recognition for his coach team, for his team, a team that incidentally has some All-Americans on it, some folks who are going to be in our Olympics. They put together a search team. The search team comes forward, and they come up with 3 candidates. Admittedly, one of the candidates was just thrown in so that they would have a 3rd candidate because the requirements of the search committee was you got to have 3 candidates. So they come up with a guy who's the coach from Rutgers. He's number 1. He gets the most votes. The coach from Montclair College, he got number 2. He got 2 votes. And the 3rd guy who was just thrown in got no votes at all. Now, the guy who got 2 votes was white. The guy from Rutgers, who got the 3 votes and was the coach of the track team at Rutgers, was black. He turned down the job because the money wasn't good enough, all right? Who do you think got the job? Yeah, the guy with no votes. $55 million this state pays to this university, all right? Now, we're going to meet some of the folks who are involved in this because this is the kind of garbage that someday has to come to a stop. Let me introduce to you Ahmad Field from Montclair State. All right. Not only a fine gentleman, but an all-American track star. Ahmad, how'd you feel, pal, when you learned that your coach, who was white, was passed over for the full-time position by, let's face it, a less qualified candidate?
Personally, I was disgusted with it. I feel like he put in the hard work, 4 years. I've been with him for 3 years. He changed the program totally. He developed 12 All-Americans that were there. In the past, in the history, there hasn't been a better coach than Vic Mazzone in the history. And what bothers me the most is one minority as far as being a head coach position. MSC has been in the track department, no other department. Now here's a man that did the best job throughout the history of the school, and now they want to get rid of him, and they talk about affirmative action. What do I look? That's what I asked him. Am I not a minority? I know what's best for me. It shouldn't come down to color. This man put in a hard time. The hours, he never looked at me as if I were white or black. He looked at me as a person.
Okay, let me go to a good friend of ours, gentleman by the name of Dick Carter's with the New York Daily News. Dick, this seems to be a case of discrimination. I mean, John Blanton, who became the coach, all right, didn't receive 1 vote, had never coached a men's track team in high school or college, was the women's track coach in high school, and yet he was selected over the guy who created the track program and created 12 All-Americans. Does this sound right to you?
On the surface, it doesn't. It sounds ludicrous. I don't know why this gentleman who was number 3 out of 3 should have gotten the job over the fellow who was number 2 when number 1 turned it down.
Well, I think what really happened, and gentlemen, you're with Montclair, am I right, sir? Right. This gentleman, I think, is Scott Langan. Is that correct, Scott?
Correct.
I think what happened is Montclair has been somewhat remiss in some affirmative action programs. I mean, the baseball coach, basketball coach, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You go all the way down, and it's all, you know, a great big white sheet there, all right?
Well, in that regard, obviously, to me, obviously, they were looking to fill the position with a black person.
Yeah, regardless of the qualifications.
To try to get this more in balance. I happen to be a strong believer in affirmative action, but I qualify that in saying that the person selected, white or black, should always be qualified.
Now, I'm not a firm believer in the way affirmative action has been foisted upon people. Let me give you my definition of affirmative action, and correct me if you disagree with me. My definition of affirmative action is when two people are equally qualified for a job, a minority and a majority. If historically that job has had white people in it all the time, at that point, the benefit goes to the black person, all right, because he is equally qualified to get the job. If, however, two people come up and the white person is more qualified than the black person, regardless of what the history of that job has been, the white person should get the job unless we are trying to create a nation of jobs handled in a mediocre way.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
You think that if someone is less qualified, they should still get the job?
No, I feel that the most qualified person should get the job, but you got to start someplace. If the situation exists, whether it's at Montclair State College or any other business organization or government agency, and there is an imbalance, there are more whites, in this case 38 to 1, I suppose, in that athletic department. You got to start someplace. Somebody has got to get the job. You got to get minorities.
All right, but what you got to do, don't you agree that you got to go out and find a qualified coach?
That's what you ought to
I mean,
do.
what they should have done if they were so dedicated to giving this job to a qualified man. They had the track coach at Rutgers University, who was a black man, who has coached Rutgers University, who has plenty of experience, who's totally qualified. They could have stopped arguing over dollars and pennies, all right, and given the man the job. But again, they're equating human life, human dignity, and everything else with dollars and cents, and that's what's wrong.
Well, if they really believe in affirmative action, as I am led to believe they are, they shouldn't be penny pinchers. They shouldn't let buck stop them. They should go to the FC yard. If they wanted the man from Rutgers, and he was the most qualified, they should have made sure he got the job, regardless of what it cost. It couldn't have cost that much more. On the other hand, the fellow who coached the team part-time for 4 years, he certainly, as the young man here said, put in a lot of hard work and helped to build the team to what it was. He happened to be the wrong color in this situation, and the only thing I'm going to say about that is you got to get minorities in some kind of way, and unfortunately, this means occasionally some white fellas are going to have to suffer. Now, over the years, we've suffered. Ahmad hasn't suffered yet because he's not old enough.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, Dick. I don't agree with that. Now, this young man, do you come from a nice big home on a hill?
No, project.
Where do you come from, pal?
I come from
So he
Jersey.
suffered from the same crap that a lot of black people, and I might add, a lot of white people have
Yeah, but he
suffered
hasn't
from,
tried to get a job yet. Willie tries to get a job and may not be able to get one because of some kind of racial discrimination. Yours truly has faced that.
But that doesn't mean...
Is that why you have
a
your job at the
Miss Winkle in front of
newspaper?
his act.
Absolutely not.
Huh?
Absolutely not.
You see, here's the point. Any black people in the audience who want to come up and argue this with me or want to agree with me, here's the point. I think we're telling black people that, hey, baby, you know, you just don't have it, man. Like, when you have it, I'm gonna help you along. That's bullshit, all right? They've got as much as any white man has. The problem with them is they got white people who are telling them you don't have it. Now, I think when two people are equally qualified, as I said before, if the job should go to the black, if historically it's gone to the white in that business. Otherwise, if the qualifications are on the side of the black or on the white, whoever has
But
the
how are you
highest
going to redress
qualifications.
the grievances?
Who the hell am I to redress grievances because my great-great-great-granddaddy had slaves? I don't give a crap about him. He's dead. He's dust. He didn't do anything for me. Next, we're going to meet the coach without a team. Vic Mazzone, stand by. Tonight on a program that maybe will tweak the national conscience because our national audience sees this show tonight, folks. We're talking about more than affirmative action. We're talking about the lives of people, both black and white, and how they're affected by the unthinking reactions of bureaucracies. Now, joining us at home base, for those of you who just joined us in this segment of the program, of course, we've got my old friend Dick Carter from the Daily News who is with us. Vic Mazzone, all the way over to my left, is the coach of Montclair State, former coach, ex-coach of Montclair State. And, of course, Lamont Field is at loudmouth number 2. And also up here with us now is Ms. Rich Ruffalo, who is the holder of the world record in the javelin. Rich, how are you? Nice to see you. And speak up, Rich. And do you mind me saying that you're blind?
Not at all.
Okay.
I want to make sure
Do you mind me also saying that if you're throwing the javelin, pal, I don't want to be in front of you if you're blind? Huh?
We can play catch anytime.
Let me go to Vic. Coach, unfortunately, you're the guy on the short end of the stick here tonight because of this so-called affirmative action. How do you feel about what's happened to you, and what has been the impact on your family?
I was shocked when they told me that I was not going to be rehired. I had started at Montclair State in 1984, part-time basis. There was 3 kids on the roster. I rebuilt that program into, I would say, national power. We had the 4th best relay team in the country last year, Division III. Okay, that's indoors and
Well,
outdoors.
they probably paid you a lot of bucks for this. How much money were you making?
I started out making $2,500 for indoor and outdoor track at Montclair State College, which is much less than a high school coach makes. Okay? This is my alma mater. I was a runner there, and I have a love affair with Montclair State. I'm very proud to be at here. Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer, too, Em?
I had a great career there, and I thought I'd come back to my school and get the track program started once again.
Okay, let me go to you again. Do you consider yourself a racist?
Oh, not at all.
Have you ever been a racist?
Never.
Okay, you're sure of that?
Positive.
When something like this happens, does it make you have racist tendencies?
Not at all. The people who are doing this to me are white people, okay? The power brokers at Montclair State.
Why do you call them power bros? Why do you call them pablum pukers?
Good one.
I spoke at Montclair State, as some of you know, about a week ago.
Right.
And I asked Montclair State to give me some of the topics that were important to the student body there. They totally avoided this. I never heard of it the entire time I was there. So they put the capper on it. And I know that is a fact because I had my producer, Jim Langan, contact them, contact the president, everyone else at your college, and they were all afraid to appear on the program. They didn't want to face the piper.
Sounds like them, right?
Let me go to Dick Carter a second. Any of you guys want to jump in at any time, you go ahead. Dick, do you think that Vic is reacting out of a sense of survival, or has he really been the victim of affirmative action gone wild here?
No, I sympathize with what's happened to Vic, but I don't buy your nonsensical description of the affirmative action gone wild. In fact, you
Of
talk
course
like...
it's gone wild, for God's sake.
You're not listening to the students. You're not
you
listening to
shut
us.
up, Jack.
No, you shut up.
Jack,
I have something to say. We are the minority.
Armand, be proud. Be proud. Usually the way they attack nowadays, the pablum pukers, especially when it's a black person who doesn't agree with another black person, they don't say, shut up, Jack. They say, shut up, Tom. All right? So at least he's being decent. All right?
Tom, right there. Right there. Tom, right there.
Hey, Morton, you talk like a man with a pit.
Well, if I've got a paper, baby, you can wipe yourself off. You say you feel sorry. You feel sorry for Vic.
I feel sorry for him. I think he's got a legitimate beef.
Okay, well, no, that's fair. He says he's got a legitimate
No, I think
beef.
Vic's got a legitimate beef. I don't feel sorry for him. He doesn't look like anybody needs any sympathy.
Not at
All
all.
right, are you the track coach for the women's team now? Do they hire
Yes,
you?
I am. After they told me I'm not good enough
Not
for the
good enough for the
full-time...
men. Listen, this lady, not good enough for the men, but he's good enough for the ladies. Sounds like a little reverse feminism there, too, doesn't it?
It's unbelievable.
This is the most ridiculous. I've got to go to Rich Ruffalo, all right, who's the world record holder for the blind in various track events. And I got to say that you're a legitimate expert in this area, Rich. Has Vic Mazzone lost his job because he's not as qualified as Mr. Blanton?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was on the team with Vic Mazzone in Montclair State College for 4 years when I could see and when it wasn't dangerous. And this is the first guy, when I came off the field throwing a javelin, we're always far apart from the rest of the shot competition. He's the first guy to run up and say, hey, how'd you do, buddy? And you tell him he's the first guy to pat you on the back. We had a kid on our team. You know, I don't carry a torch for disabled people or anything like that because I don't consider myself having a handicap. I think the whole workforce...
You don't, except I sure as hell don't like driving with you.
I didn't know the road. But now the problem I have with this discrimination business, more so than on just Vic's situation, is many times you have a qualified person who may have a handicap, and people are afraid of legalities and liabilities, what if they fall and hurt themselves.
Insurance.
For that person to get to that point of prominence and competency to overcome an obstacle, someone should give him a shot. In this case, Vic, super guy. First guy to help you, first guy to say hello, first guy to say good job. We had a kid on our team who had CP. He was a national caliber runner. He'd be the first guy off the field in cross country to help cheer Billy Ferry up the hill. Super guy. And here's a guy graduated Montclair State. Montclair State's given us the impression that you're good enough to graduate our college, you're good enough to be an All-American, Hall of Famer, you're a great guy, but you're not good enough to work here. That's pretty sick.
Ahmad, you wanted to say something, and let me just put a thought in your mind, and any of your guys' minds here. You know, I hate putting you in the spot of looking like, oh, God, you're going against the new guy who's been hired because he's black, all right? I don't think that's the reason you're going against him. I think you're demonstrating a loyalty that most Americans have in this country for each other before the other people step in and create problems. I think the real racism in this country is from the bureaucracies, it's from the press, all right? It's from television, from radio. They're going to have something to talk about. So they create a problem. I mean, I wouldn't be doing this show if it wasn't interesting to everyone, if it wasn't going to get ratings. I'm telling the truth. That's the only reason I'm doing the show. And that's what's happening in this country. They don't realize that I can get along with you, you can get along with me. I ain't going to get sick by kissing you, all right? You ain't going to turn a little weird by kissing me. What the hell are you going to do? What the hell have you guys done to back this guy up? I mean, talk is cheap. What have you done? What action have you done?
Basically, we started off with an assistant AD. He didn't listen to us. He went to the AD. It was like a before and after with this guy. We go into him. We tell him he has us persuaded that Vic is our guy. We're working for him. And then all of a sudden, he takes a walk across the street to the vice president. Then all of a sudden, oh, Vic's not good enough. He's great. No bad recommendations, but he's not good enough. I think it's that he didn't go to the beach and catch a tan.
Well, what do you
Look, I said something.
I mean, have you guys done well on your track meets this year, or since
We're boycotting the season.
you boycotted? Now that's taking action.
I mean, I'm a national champion, NCAA Division III hurler. I'm giving up my season because it's right and wrong. And technically, whatever happens, it happens, but I'm going to let them know that it's serious business. They thought we were going to lay down and be nice about it. No, we're taking it far as it's going to lead us.
That's
Let me
Judge
ask
Downey.
something.
Wait a second, wait. Let me ask Bill. All right, Dick wants to... Go ahead, Dick.
Let me just ask the young man a question. Now, do you think that Coach Blanton, or the gentleman who was hired, I think his name was Blanton, should turn the job down because of what happened? Do you think so?
Well, technically, it depends on his decision. He's been put in a bad position. He's an innocent man.
Yeah, he is.
Basically, it's the administration, because they thought that Ron Upperman turned down the job, and they weren't ready to hear that. He turned down the job, and then what? Vic Mazzone was next.
Now, let me just go a few years down the road when you've had your distinguished career, and hopefully you will have won a gold medal in the Olympics, which we'll all be rooting for you to do. What if you were in his position, I'm speaking of Blanton, and the same situation happened to you? You were caught in this similar situation. Would you back down? Would you avert to the other
I would
candidate?
give up the position knowing that they're just picking me because they need a black token.
All right. That's the way young black America feels today. Let me tell you something, pal. Let me tell you something. Come here. Morton. That is the way. All right. That is the way. Watch it, folks at home. Watch it. Watch it, you liberals. All right. That is the way young America feels about it today. not black, not white, all of us. We'll be back in just a second. We'll try to see if affirmative action really means reverse racism.
This Saturday night on Morton After Dark at 11, you'll meet a man who wears a dress, all right, and says that men are getting screwed. And you'll hear from residents of a high-rent district who think they're a lot of sense.
You know, here's the interesting dichotomy of everything that's going on right now is it almost looks like it's a foregone conclusion that what these so-called bureaucrats, administrators, or what do you call them, are doing is setting black upon black, all right? Not black against white, black upon black. And we're going to explore that in just a second. Rich, you want to just, I know Mr. Friedman has joined us, all right? Cy Friedman, who is one of the leading trial lawyers in America and one of the great pablum-puking affirmative action experts. Cy, I'm going to come to you in just a second, but Rich wanted to say something in the last segment.
I'd like to make a point. I happen to be a graduate of Montclair State. I'm also a track and field coach. I teach public school in Belleville High School, so I know a little bit of education. I hope to think I know a little bit about track and field. And one thing that everyone seems to have forgotten in Montclair State is bureaucracy, which is unchecked and unbalanced, unlike any legislative body in a democracy should be. They have a search committee with experts totally disregard their decisions. The best lever of a coach's ability is his athlete. We have some nationally prominent athletes that are throwing away their season in deference to this man. That's got to say something about his character.
Let me tell you how far they're throwing the season away, all right? At this loudmouth number 2, we have track, football, basketball, football, all right? Each one of those men that I have talked to have said they are going to boycott their sport, period.
The sickest thing about this, Montclair State put out some information that one of the big reasons that they gave this job to this fella is because he has a master's degree.
In what?
He has business education. Or something like that. Education. But the point I'm making is, well, by that stupid reasoning, that means Dr. Ruth Westheimer would be a better coach than any of them, because she has a PhD.
Well, I'll say one thing for Dr. Ruth Westheimer. She probably has bigger balls than your administrator. Let me, Cy, you've had a chance to listen to some of this, and I know you're a great supporter of affirmative action, and I'm sure you heard what my belief of what affirmative action should be is. You see it any differently? Do you see Vic being a victim here himself?
Listening to you talk, I'm convinced that your neck is as red as your socks.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you? Well, at least, sir, they can see my neck.
Nobody has said.
This is typical of the pablum pukers whose programs haven't worked for 40 years. You got a redneck, all right? Go ahead. Go ahead.
And debating you and the others on this program is like the Knicks playing the Celtics in Boston Garden.
That's right. You're going to get your ass blown out.
All right, we're ready. We're ready.
Now, let me ask you.
I've been there before with better fighters than you.
I can tell you have been, sir.
But I will tell you one thing. Nobody has knocked Ms. Zone's character.
No.
And nobody has said that he doesn't know how to coach a track team.
Right.
But that might not be the issue here. And nobody has
But
brought
you've heard the issue, Si. You've heard one guy who has already proven his qualifications, who has the support of his team, who has given of his own time freely, who has created from whole cloth, all right, a nationally prominent team in 4 years, and now we're bringing in a high school coach. Incidentally, he wasn't the men's track coach there. He was the girls' track coach at the high school team, all right? And we're replacing him. I do, too. I always happen to like broad jumping, all right? Tell me,
More
winning.
the case where,
Unlike Lombardi, winning isn't the only thing. And I don't mean to demean his proficiency in putting out a winning team. But you keep on harping on the fact that he's produced a great team. That isn't the only criterion that is being judged, perhaps, by the board in deciding what
it
coach
must
to
be
hire.
because the board
Nobody knocked his character.
the board had 5 members, all right? 3 of the members voted for the Rutgers coach. 2 of them voted for Mazzone. None of them voted for the third guy, Blanton. None of them. No one on the board, on the Speaker's committee, wanted Blanton.
first of all,
You're stating a fact which might not be correct.
I'm stating a fact.
You're saying that nobody wanted Blanton.
Absolutely.
Apparently, when it came down to a vote, somebody wanted Blanton because he won. And I'm not talking.
You guys jump in here with a little know-it-all.
I'm not talking about the search committee. Because the search committee was composed partially, from what I understand, of members of the team.
I want to say no, one member of the
Mr.
team and one
Field, you,
administrator.
right?
Don't say members.
Members.
One
That
member.
already is prejudicial.
At the Board of
I don't know.
Trustees meeting,
I don't know
Mr.
many
Freeman.
players
Board of
on the
Trustees
team that
meeting.
would vote against
Let
the coach.
someone who knows.
At the Board of Trustees meeting, I spoke on behalf of the situation there for Vic Mazzone. At the Board of Trustees meeting, the entire team was there. Members of the faculty were there. Members of the administration were there. Members of the alumni were there, of which I'm one, all speaking in his behalf. They turned a deaf ear. They have worse hearing than I have eyesight.
Did anyone tell you? You know, it's amazing. I talked about the Knicks playing in Boston Garden. It's amazing. I was looking at the audience during some of the outbursts of applause that seems to be rigged as far as I'm concerned. And it's interesting.
Let me show you, there's absolutely nothing rigged about this program.
I noticed two black people sitting in the audience.
Let him talk.
I noticed two black people sitting in the audience who didn't join the applause once.
Excuse me, one black person would like to be heard.
Yeah.
Go for it. Okay. My name is Greg Favell, and I'm a basketball player at Montclair State. Well, formerly a basketball player, because I'm protesting against what's going on. I share in the same disappointment of the decision that was made to let this man go that put forth the hard work. What it seems to me is that I don't understand how can an establishment, if you're going to use affirmative action to better an athletic program, it seems to me that you would go in and attack the weakest part of the program. You have a program here that is producing, the athletes are happy with their coach, and yet and still you're going to bring in a lesser man to take out this guy, and the man is not even qualified, and the players are happy with this man. And the same administration has a basketball program that has only won 7 basketball games within the last 2 seasons. Why not replace him? It's not.
Yeah.
Replace him.
And if you want to...
You don't fix something. You don't fix something that's not broken.
Right. Let me ask you something.
Go ahead, Cy.
Let me ask you something.
Go
How
ahead,
many
Cy.
white...
Dig the hole.
how
You're
many-
already standing in deeper.
Let me ask you something.
Second of all, I'm a little tired
let me
of
ask
listening
you
to you and you talk
Let
about
me
my
ask-
institution.
Let me ask
You don't go to my institution, therefore you can't
Not
speak
your
for it.
institution.
All right?
Remember that.
Now,
Okay.
let me just say something. I
not
heard
your
you speak.
institution.
I want to talk now. All right? I heard you speak.
Well, you get a job. You shut up. Now, wait a second. Zip it. Go ahead.
I played basketball at Montclair State for 2 years. An assistant coach.
Zip it.
And an assistant coach. I sat out a whole
Will you let him finish? Well, this is typical. This is typical of a little teeny Napoleon white guy.
I sat out a whole year of basketball, something I haven't done in 12 years, because I was disgusted with the program. My assistant coach, who was there for 7 years and is an alumni, just like this man right here, went to bat for us, and the coach told him, mind your business, keep quiet. He's no longer there. He didn't have enough patience to deal with the situation.
Well, I suggest that Mr.
I'm not
Mazzone-
finished.
Not finished.
Keep quiet.
Because as you're talking, I see his neck getting redder.
How can we allow this?
You don't have one.
You don't even have a neck.
You see the reflection of good American blood, of which you have none.
That's your definition.
In an attempt to keep the players happy, they brought in a black assistant coach. This is what they're trying to do right now.
I'd like to go
This is what they're
one-on-one
trying to
with
do
you.
right now.
I'd like to
It did not work.
I'd
Will
like
you
to take
keep
you
quiet?
over to the court and go
Will you keep
one-on-one
quiet?
with you?
I listen to you.
ahead.
Now shut up. All right? They brought in a black assistant coach.
Let's slam dunk this little
That's what we
Next, we'll meet a black man who's really a white man and still can't get a job. Stay with us. All right. We're going to go to our monitor here in the studio, and for you folks at home, before we go back to our audience and back to the Montclair State situation, I want you to take a look at a tape that has resulted in more cries of racism, all right? I don't know how many of you remember, some of you are too young, including myself, to remember Al Jolson, but in the old days, the 1920s and 30s, he was a great singer. He used to sing songs like, you know, Mammy, and he'd get down on one knee and he wore blackface and white gloves, the whole thing, all right? A lot of people say that that's insulting, it's ridiculous, and that thing should be out of the way. So, we're going to take a look at this entertainer right now. Uh-huh. There he is. There he is. I wish we'd bring this entertainer into the studio, if you don't mind. All I can see there is a mouth. All right. Sleeves, shirt, mouth. Okay. This is, okay, may I have Al Jolson, Bernie Al Jolson in here, please? All right. All right. All right, buddy. Nice to meet you. Oh, please, yeah. All right, let me just go to you a second. Bernie Algard, all right? Bernie Al Jolson Algard, I guess is what they call you. Bernie, what we've just seen is part of your nightclub act. Huh? Well, what we've just seen is part of your nightclub act. Did you hear that question?
Yeah, I ignored it.
Does your
I'm
mother
sorry.
know you
Does
do
your
that?
mother know you do that?
Oh, yeah.
And look, that's stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, look, this clown don't even have a mother. You are ridiculous, man.
You know,
Why is his face
let me
black?
tell you-
Why is
let me
his
tell
face
you,
black?
if-
Totally ridiculous. We are often imitated, but never duplicated.
You got it. You got it.
But he wants to be the best.
Well, let me just tell you something.
everyone has a right
Sorry,
to
let me
make
tell
an
you
ass of
something that happened, all right? Let me tell you something that happened. He went to appear in a nightclub in New Jersey. They got an injunction type thing. The NAACP got very upset and didn't want you to appear there at the club. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So because you wore a blackface, are you doing that in a degrading way, or would you like to be a black man?
no, actually, Al
You wouldn't?
Jolson. Al
Because
Jolson.
actually, I tell you, after seeing you singing, you ain't got no rhythm, pal. Right? You know.
Brother,
Thanks. Al Jolson, number one, was known, and the symbol of Jolson was the black face that he put on. Al Jolson was the greatest, and one of the greatest entertainers that ever lived. And that's history, and you
All right,
can't
but
erase history.
What did he do for race relations?
Well, number one, he lived and died for his country. When we say, what did he do? When he went over to Korea, the doctors warned him. They said, don't go back over to Korea. You're going to kill yourself. He was the first guy that went over to support the troops. And with those troops, there were blacks, there were whites, and there were all kinds of races. And that man gave his life for his country. He was very patriotism, and he was a great guy. But I don't think you ever did as much as he'll. In 1 year of your life, or in his life, you'll never
All right,
top
but
him.
why are you doing it? You're not Al Jolson.
Because I love Jolson. I love this music. I think
you love your mother.
the
You're not just
song-
like your mother.
the song...
Oh, you ain't ever seen his mom.
No, no.
Okay.
She's not
Well,
an
let me ask
entertainer.
Si. Si, is this irritating to you? Irritating enough to deny him the right to earn a living?
Irritating is a mild word. He said Jolson was history. I wish he were history. Just ridiculous. If a man wants to make a fool of himself, he's entitled to. But it's so offensive. It's so tasteless.
Do you find it as offensive when Richard Pryor comes out and tells honky jokes? Does that bother you?
No.
Doesn't bother me either.
No.
Does it bother you if you see a guy who has talent and rhythm and everything else and can sing,
I agree.
dressed with a black face?
Right.
Huh?
This is ridiculous.
You couldn't be at a... They wouldn't allow him at a high school
take
talent
exception
show.
to his act. I take exception to his act whether he's talented or not.
Why is that?
Because it's insulting.
What is insulting?
Look, in 1988, it's an insult, man. Don't you know that?
You think Al Jolson would do that today? He'd have more brains.
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
You grow with the time.
You know, what we're
You grow
doing
with the
here...
time. It's 1988.
Well, wait a second, guys. Let me enter here as the devil's advocate. Has Rich Pryor grown with the times 1988, so he's afraid to tell
He
Harkin
doesn't appear
jokes?
in whiteface.
Huh?
Richard Pryor doesn't appear in whiteface.
No, but Ben Vereen appears in blackface over blackface.
And a whole lot of
And
black
doesn't.
entertainers in the old days had to appear in blackface because that's the only way they could get work.
But Ben Vereen himself, all right? Ben Vereen himself, who was an
He's
extremely
poking
talented
fun
black
at jerks
man.
like this.
He is?
Absolutely.
Not at
by
all.
doing
He's doing
that.
an
You
imitation
come
of
on.
Al Jolson. He does an
You get
imitation
off
of
the
Al
stage.
Jolson.
Anybody that sits up here with blackface in this day and age, you got to be
I
nuts.
want security. I am scared. I want security.
You shut up.
Where is Jim Hershaw? Is Jim Hershaw in the audience?
Maybe he's trying to get the
Oh, here's
crack
Jim.
cocaine job.
Jim, now you're his manager.
think
Wait a
that's
second, folks. Let me introduce you to his manager, Jim Hershaw.
Right.
You're his manager, or his agent, whatever the hell it is. Is this going to cause you difficulty if he can't appear in blackface?
Well, he'll be able to appear in blackface.
He will?
Yes, absolutely confident of it. I don't think there's a person here that could show me one single law, one single reason why he can't entertain and why he can't
What
have
about if
equal
the clubs
opportunity.
won't hire him because the NAACP in every town says, hey, pal, you're in trouble if you put your guy in here?
It hasn't happened in 12 years. Happened this one. By the way, it was not an injunction. NAACP did not get an injunction.
NAACP can get an
They
injunction.
could, but they
I agree with him from a legal point of view. I said if he wants to make an ass of himself, he's entitled.
no. And that you're entitled to practice law. You're entitled to practice law. You're entitled to write. You're entitled to speak. Everybody here is entitled to do whatever they like to do. It's the American way. And you are standing there today because of the American way. And we're sitting here and we're listening to you make an ass of yourself. And you're doing a fine job of it, my friend.
All right. I want to come back to Montclair State, which is a real issue here. But I wanted you to see this type of thing that is also going on, just to show you how it becomes so convoluted. There are some people in our audience who are really angry tonight, all right? And we're going to go to the audience next. Stand by. Join us. All right. You know, let me tell you, whether you're watching this show in Los Angeles, in Chicago, down in Dallas, no matter where you're watching this show, here in New York, New Jersey, this is but a microcosm of the type of thing that is going on, the abuses that are taking place under the name of affirmative action. I've got to go back to the audience and speak to some of the folks who are a little bit bent out of shape about what's been going on tonight. Ma'am, you're first.
Hi, I'm Sonia, and I like to say I'm really mad. You can look around in the audience, you can see none of us are that black. I think you are trying to make a joke out of us.
Well, this is theatrical makeup, and that's
Why
what
not
I
paint
use.
your face
It
white?
has no...
Would it be funny if you were white?
It's not offensive in any way, and not meant to be offensive in any way.
I'm offended.
I'm offended.
They're offended. We're all offended.
I want to go back to Montclair State. All right, let's get back to the Montclair State issue, all right, Sonia? And you're right to make your observation. But the real problem here is the reversal of affirmative action, the misuse of affirmative action, all right? As I explained earlier, in my sense, affirmative action is an extremely valid situation to have in place in this country, provided we're talking about people of equal qualifications, all right? And that's what we were talking about Vic, wherever Vic is. But go ahead, sir. You want to say something.
Well, my name is Eric Glover. I'm a former member of the Montclair State football team. I'd just like to say that I believe the whole athletic program at Montclair State is screwed up, okay? I personally believe, okay, if they're going to put a token black into the program, why don't I start with football, okay? We have six or seven white coaches there.
all right? And 85%, and I say about 70% of the athletes that play are black, okay? So if you're gonna stick a token, okay, if you got a quota, something that you want to stick into the program, why don't you start with football first, okay? Because you have 7 all-white coaches, and half of them don't even know how to coach a black athlete.
Let me jump in here and put a thought in your mind, all right? A thought in everyone's mind in the audience. Here is a very clever ploy of the bureaucrats, the pablum pukers, what they do. They select, as you said, the token, all right? They put the token black into the job. And then when the black fails, and because he didn't have the qualifications, they say the black isn't qualified. You get the Al Campana syndrome. What have they done to Frank Robinson, all right? The manager of the Baltimore Orioles. They give him an 0-9 team, allow it to go 0-21, all right? And they take a guy who has failed as a manager 3 times previously, put him into that spot when there are hundreds of qualified blacks they could have put into the job. They want blacks to make fun of. All right? Go ahead. Downey, do you have anything you want to add to this, or this young lady? Go ahead, ma'am.
Could I just comment on Sonia, please?
No, I don't want to get into that comment. I want to get on Montclair State, all right? Well, Montclair, ma'am.
My name's Susan Mazzone. Vic Mazzone's
Are
wife.
you Vic's daughter?
No. I'm his wife, 14
Okay.
years. And I'm also an alumnus of Montclair State College. And I'm a little disturbed tonight how this is becoming like a racial issue. To us, at the school, the track team, my husband, this was a bunch of guys who were friends. And it's Montclair State administrators who are making this a racial issue. As a matter of fact, Dr. Jean Armstrong, who is the vice president, who actually made this decision, told me in her office the day after the Board of Trustees meeting not to air their dirty linen.
Well, I can tell you that I received a letter yesterday from Montclair State, hand-delivered to me, telling me not to get involved in this issue, all right, which was the wrong thing to say to me, not to get involved in this issue, and that they would make none of their people available for this show. So if indeed they had something that was defensible, why isn't their AD tonight sitting here instead of that blackface guy, all right? Huh? Go ahead, size 46. Go ahead, 46.
Yeah, you remember me, huh?
I
My
remember
name is
you.
James Lahore. I'm an alumnus of Montclair State College. I was on the search committee who originally hired Vic Mazzone late in 1984. And what I'd like to say is he's really not being used as a token. I didn't come here to defend the school, but I should add that the athletic department has gone under a lot of changes. There were some excellent black coaches there that were on the assistants on the football team. These coaches were so good, they've all gotten better positions at other schools. They've got head coaching jobs at some of the other colleges, and all of a sudden, within a year and a half, we've lost a lot of blacks with the athletic department.
Sure you have, because you got a mentality at your school that only wants second best. Give those assistant coaches that now have the big national jobs, they should have the national jobs at your school and shouldn't have to go somewhere else to look if your school was really trying to do the job. We'll be back in just a minute.
This Saturday night on Morton After Dark at 11, you'll meet a man who wears a dress, all right, and says that men are getting screwed. And you'll hear from residents of...
Before we close tonight, I want to hear from some other members of our audience, and I also hope and pray that Montclair State, which is an extremely good institution, all right, has the good sense to bring this man back on board in a capacity that matches his talent. Go ahead, sir.
I'm a member of the track team. After they told us they picked Blanton over Vic, I asked Vice President Armstrong why she did that. She told us because this man had a master's degree and Vic did not. I then asked if the man they offered to first, Ron Upperman, had one. She said, and I quote her, "Yes, I believe he did." He didn't have one. The dean of students was there, the athletic director was there, and some other lady was there. They all knew she didn't have one. Nobody corrected her.
So they lied
to us.
So they lied, ma'am.
I don't. My name is Carol. I'm an alumna of the college. I worked as the alumni director for a couple of months 3 years ago when Vic came on. I don't like affirmative action that's practiced at Montclair because it's not affirmative and there's no action. What they did when they hired Blanton is make 7 numbers, because that man is the equal of 7 positions on the staff, and that's not wrong. I don't like the fact that you think, Mr. Carter, that
because you're black or because you're a woman, because I was a sports writer, that you have the right to just take that job away from someone who is qualified.
Hey, look,
I'm not opposed to that.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. What we proved here tonight more than anything is A, there's pablum pukers at Montclair State, and B, there's some damn big heroes at that university, all right? And for that, we should be grateful. Good night, everybody. God bless you. And affirmative action isn't very affirmative for this gentleman. You guys are stupid.